everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lifting. Today's episode is being recorded on 7/27/26. Before we get to anything, I now open this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. And I'm going to do an annotated law of one. Law of one, when all is helped, all are helped, all in unity stands stronger. So therefore, in the name of who I am and I am one with all there is, I ask that only the highest good be done during this show today. I ask that all malignant, malicious, and negative entities and energies be swept away as of this moment in time. I give thanks that this is done, so be it, and so it is. And we are with Ryan Polenkarts today, and we are doing more information on the Warhammer 40,000 franchise. So this is actually should be pretty interesting. So Ryan?
Okay, guys, this is gonna be a wild one. This we'll be talking about Biggie himself, the God Emperor of mankind. Um, if you want some fun side stuff, just for like a fun YouTube series, as we'll talk about, there's a point in history where the Emperor kind of gets a little bit fucked and has to sit still for a very long time. But there is a YouTube series. It's old and outdated now, but it's quite funny called If the Emperor Had Voice to Speech or Text to Speech. And yeah, but I'm gonna share. Let me see. There we go. Here we go. I'm sharing. Can you see that photo now of the guy?
Yep, yep, there
Yeah.
we go.
So this is the Emperor of mankind as he is portrayed. He has been known as many things throughout history, um, but by the 40,000th, by millennia, M41 and M42, he is just known as the Emperor. He is worshipped as a god, and much to the disgust of his sons, as well as um, many people, including himself, if he was like coherent enough to care about it, he would be super pissed off that people worship him as a god, which we'll get into. But here he is in all his emperoriness, and I'll either refer to him as Neoth or the Emperor going forward, because Neoth is the name he used during like the lead up to when he was in his most important part of his life. So this story starts before recorded civilizations and like settled society. Um, in fact, it's likely even before like the f- beginning of farming. He was born, and from his own story about it, in the past, there was there was a shamanic societies, and the shamans were all psychically active people. And they realized that through their connection to what in the Warhammer universe is called the warp, which is kind of the psychic plane, that beings coalesce that we would view as demons, and you can kind of see them behind him in this picture. These are like the main demonic gods back here behind him. So there's Korn, like war and anger and hate. Nurgle, which is like pestilence, disease, and life. Zinch, which is like magic and plots, and Slanesh, which is like pleasure and sensation. Through these emotional things, these beings that are called the Chaos Gods and Chaos Demons come to be based on other things living emotion. And the psyker or psychic shamans realized this and were like, okay, if there's a bunch of us, we're just gonna like open ways for these demons to come through by accident. Because the demons in the warp can jump the people who are psychic in Warhammer really easily and take over their bodies, and then they can open portals to let the other demons through. So all of them psychically communicate and are like, yes, it's a good idea if we all ritually kill ourselves together right now to protect our people from these demons. And so they do. And all of their souls end up in the warp because that's where souls go after they die as well. And before the demons in the warp can eat their souls, because that happens, uh, they all essentially merged themselves into one soul and were birthed back into humanity as Neoth. And he is said to, before like recorded history, kind of was just like a warlord. He ran around, he did whatever he wanted. He tried to have children. He was too large to have children. There's in fact in that the if the emperor had text to speech thing, he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I tried. They never survived." Uh, because in not just the like you would think based on this picture that yes, he's a big guy, right? Like
Mhm.
muscly. He's also like 11 feet tall.
Okay, all right. That's
Uh,
very interesting
and
because
he glows gold. His eyes are gold. He has, however, been. He is also something called a perpetual, which is another thing in Warhammer. Now, a lot of the times they are born as psychers. They're extremely rare. They're like less than 0.01% of the population of humans. But perpetuals are people that if they die, they're just on a respawn timer. So not only is he now like this amalgamation of all the most psychic people ever, he's also not able to die permanently, and he can use his super psychic hacks powers because he's like way stronger than any psychic being ever to change his appearance at will. And we have various stories about him being different people throughout history, including uh, likely the first one that we know of for certain is Alexander the Great. And in Warhammer, they try to explain why Alexander went to India, not because he just wanted to destroy Persia. It had more to do with the fact that there was a thing giving off a super psionic field under the Himalayas.
Hmm.
And so he wanted to get there, and he did. And then Alexander the Great dies. He doesn't die, he just goes under the Himalayas and stays there. And then later on, once he's emperor of mankind, he actually builds the imperial palace over the Himalayas, like levels the Himalayas and builds a palace there. Um, he was also said to have been Saint George, the patron saint of England, the one that killed the dragon. Now, this
Mhm.
goes into the fact that on the moon, I think, or Mars, sometime before like space travel, he went up there somehow. He's also like really intelligent, so I would not put it past him to be able to like make himself a spaceship or find one from some ancient thing that happened on Earth before humans, because there is history before Earth, before humans on Earth in Warhammer, but it goes really, really far back. But yeah, he goes up to either I believe it's the moon or Mars. I'm thinking it's Mars, and he fights something called the Void Dragon, which is said to be, I think, an ancient Necron, which is another faction of Warhammer we're not going to get to for a very long time. Like God. But yeah, he destroys it, and that's where like Saint George, the patron saint, killing the last dragon comes from.
Hmm.
Um, and he was also said to be Joan of Arc, which is an odd one, but because he can change his form at will, he was. um, but for most of human history, he's just kind of hanging out under the Himalayas, doing whatever the fuck he wants and delving into the mysteries of the warp. And during that period, he realizes that there are the warp god things we talked about: Korn, Nurgle, Slaanesh, and Tzeentch, and goes, okay, these are a problem. And the best way to deal with this problem is to not tell anyone about them. And so he does. And so he doesn't tell anyone about them. And for the next probably 50,000 years, he doesn't. We don't know if this is before the Alexander the Great thing, after the Alexander the Great thing. We just know that he figures it out. But by about 28,000 AD, so now we're post like everything. We're in the future now. So he's out here right now, especially because in Warhammer's idea, we all exist. This all actually happened, and all this is our future. Um, so we've jumped ahead to 28,000 AD. Humans have scattered amongst the stars. We have colonies all over. We have whole planets that are like fully colonized. We are a galactic race, but there's no aliens that we deal with because there's not. They're too far away. And the ones that are out there are concerned with their own stuff. And the space elves, called the Eldar, essentially fuck everything up for everybody because they let their society fall into like debauch sin of like sex and stuff and inadvertently birth Slanesh, the one up in the top left. Top right, I mean,
Mhm.
with like the weird spiked tongue. And um yeah, so they birth Slanesh and that creates a bunch of warp storms in real space. So we used to travel basically faster than light travel for most people in Warhammer, not all of them, but most. You go through the warp. Well, now there's these warp storms everywhere. You can't do fast and light travel. All the human colonies are like, shit, we can't get around anymore. And they revert back into like medieval or sub medieval societies in many cases. Technology is lost. And so the period before this is called like the golden age of technology because we
Mhm.
were high tech and stuff, and then kind of boom, everything's rewiped. And at the same time, like Earth was just broke apart into like a bunch of warlord states. And the Emperor, who's been around forever, is like, not a fan of this. So gotta do something about it. And he goes out and becomes one of these warlords, and he pretty much dominates all of them except for one, and that one's name is Melkador the Sigillite. He's also super psychic, but nowhere near the Emperor's level, and he's also a perpetual, and him and the Emperor apparently have been butting heads forever. But they finally come together, and Big E is like, this is my plan. Malkador's like, oh shit, my plan's super similar. I'll just jump along on your plan, and then we'll take over the world. So they do. And the Emperor and Malkador using their great knowledge, and like the Emperor at this point has now like learned about super genetic manipulation. They make the Thunder Warriors, which are like Space Marines 1.0. And this is like the Emperor. Well, actually, let's go with this picture. This is the Emperor going into this period. He gets himself this sick gold armor. He's got a big flaming sword, and he makes the Thunder Warriors, but they are not perfect. In fact, as soon as they're made, they're like degenerating.
Hmm.
Like they're not biologically stable. They're degenerating mentally and physically the whole time. So they conquer Earth with them, and then he kills them all. Just all of them. Kills them. So then him and Malkador are like, okay, we got to bring all the rest of the human planets back into like control. We're gonna make an empire of humanity, an imperium, if you will. And they're like, we need generals and we need better fighters. So they make the Space Marines. But to make the Space Marines, they figured out the issue with their plan. They need like a biological source. So the Emperor finds another perpetual lady named Erda, and they get busy. I it's implied that they're the Primarchs who are where are they? These guys are like test tube babies.
Hmm.
Like they're biologically engineered. They're all a result of the Emperor and Erda, and they all are the new generals essentially for this great crusade, is what the Emperor is calling it. And each one has their own Space Marine Legion that they will be leading in this crusade to reconquer the stars and push back aliens because the Emperor knows that there's aliens and humanity knows that there's aliens, but like they haven't been that big of an issue yet, but they're starting to become an issue, especially the orcs, because the orcs just want to fight stuff. Um, and so the Emperor and Erda make these guys. Well, Erda realizes that the Emperor just wants to use them as tools. And at the same time, the Chaos Gods are like, we really don't want the Emperor to do this. We're having too much fun using our demons to take over human planets. So, uh, essentially, Erda steals the babies in their test tubes
Hmm.
and throws them out all over. And the Chaos Gods take the babies and throw them out all over the into human controlled worlds, all over. And so now the Emperor's real purpose, so he's got their DNA, so he can make the Space Marines, and he does, and he makes the 20 legions of Space Marines, and then he sends them out to reconquer human space, drive back the alien and the demon, and find the lost Primarchs. And they're found. And they're not in the order of numbering here. This is based on their legion.
Hmm.
And I think we'll go into the order that they're found when we talk about the individual Space Marine legions. But we will be talking about them in the sense that all of them have aspects of the Emperor in them. So we'll just kind of go through them one by one here. The two that are just like Greek statue heads, we know nothing about. And they're called the Lost Primarchs. And all we know is that likely one of them was, we think, 11, maybe like a prisoner of Earth now and had kind of gone insane because of alien technology. We have known nothing about two, except for one small little bit of dialogue from one book where the one Primarch, Horus Lupercal, tries to say his name, and Malkador the Sigillite, the Emperor's best friend, is like, "Don't you fucking say that name." And then Horus tries, and Malkador like blasts him with psychic energy to shut him up. And that's it. That's all. That's the only real stuff we have about the two lost Primarchs. But we have the Lion. He's my personal favorite Primarch. He's like an Arthurian king. He's kind of like the Emperor's. If you want us to destroy an entire knowledge of a civilization ever existing, this is who he sends. We have Fulgrim. He's the pretty one who thinks everything needs to be perfect and he likes art. We have Perturabo. He's Perturabo.
Hmm.
He's obsessed with like building things. Jagatai Khan, which he likes to go fast, and his entire legion is basically just Mongols in space, but they ride bikes instead of like
Hmm.
motorcycles instead of horses. Lehman Russ, and I think everyone can figure out that this is the Viking guy. He's the one the Emperor sends if he wants you to know that there were people, but he destroyed them.
Okay.
Rogaldorn, who is lovingly referred to by the community as like the autistic one, because he's kind of like autistic in the sense that, like, he doesn't have emotions, and he also is really good at defending things. Conrad Kurz, who is a fucking crazy man, and there's no redeeming qualities. He literally doesn't even call himself by the name that the Emperor calls him, which is Conrad. He goes by the Night Haunter and is like Batman who murders on the planet that he originally got dropped on.
Oh,
Sanguinius, who's also known as the Angel. He's also a vampire with angel wings. It's very weird, and all his sons are vampires, and he will learn about Sanguinius later. He is very important. Ferrus Manus is funny because his group is called the Iron Hands, and he literally has iron hands. And apparently he's a good smith. The lost one that we think might be locked up, being known as Subject 11.
hmm.
Angron, or as some people like to jokingly call him, Angry Ron, and he has these nails that the planet that he landed on put in his head that just make him like a super angry butcher.
Hmm.
Um, it was implied that like if he hadn't have gotten those, he would have been like the healer of the group, but now he's just like an uncontrolled rage machine.
Yeah.
Rabute Gilliman, he's the smart one. Like he's the tactics guy. And the Emperor kind of like he's around right now in 40K. So of the good, the guys that stay good, well, I'll tell you who that is in a bit. Him, Rabute Gilliam, and Lionel Johnson are the only two confirmed to be active right now in 40K. So 10,000, well, 12,000 years ahead of where we are in the timeline.
Hmm.
And both of them disappear for a while, but they're back. And Rabute Gilliman, he's like currently in control of the entire Imperium because he's the only one smart enough to do it. Mortarion, he's he doesn't do much during the Great Crusade, but he does stuff later, and he's definitely a guy, and he's from Barbarous. Magnus the Red, he's like the psychic wizard one, and him and the Emperor, it's implied before the Emperor found him, the Emperor knew where Magnus was. Because Magnus was so powerful at his psychic stuff, they could communicate through space with psychically. And they did. And they like dove into the secrets of the warp together. And Magnus was the kind of the one that the Emperor had to be like, you see that shit over there in the warp? Don't fucking trust it. Horus was the first one he found. That is important. So he had the longest time with the Emperor, and he was kind of the Emperor's favorite, but not really. Like the Emperor put the most responsibility on him, but it's quite clear the Emperor liked Sanguinius more, and Horus never liked that.
Hmm.
And we'll go into Horus here in a minute because Horus and the Emperor are now linked intrinsically going forward. Lorgar is a nutjob religious fanatic. He is the Primarch of the World Bearers, and his planet unfortunately already worshipped Chaos when the Emperor showed up. And then he tried to create a religion worshipping the Emperor, and this is around the time too where the Emperor is like, okay, the best way to deal with not allowing Chaos to corrupt everything is no religion. But now he's a guy who's 11 feet tall, so double the height of a normal man, walking around, and he's glowing gold, and he's conquering everything, and people want to worship him naturally.
Yeah.
And he is like, I am not a god. Gods are cringe.
Hmm.
Do not worship me or anything for that matter. Well, Lorgar didn't get the message, and in fact, he tried to build a church on his planet to the Emperor. And the Emperor comes and levels it, and that was like a warning for Lorgar, and he just didn't get the fucking message.
Hmm.
And he then is like, I will secretly worship the Chaos Gods myself, ha 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 ha. So he does, and that's kind of the beginning of the end. Vulcan is the cool one. He's a perpetual like the Emperor. Uh, he's got black skin because his biology, when mixed with the planet he landed on, called Nocturne, literally turned his skin black. And also because of the radiation on the planet, like everybody loses their hair pretty much. And he gets red eyes, and all of his space marines from the Salamanders chapter who really like fire, and so does Vulcan, also get that red eyes and like black skin.
Hmm.
But Vulcan is like, even though he looks the scariest off at first, is the nicest of them all.
No.
He is like he actually cares about people, and he has emotional intelligence. And then we have, of course, Corvus Corax of the Raven Guard, who is the emo one, and he's a good guy, but he's just depressed. And now he's by 40K. He's implied to still be alive, but missing and half corrupted into a giant raven creature.
Hmm.
And then we have Alfarius and Omegon, who are debated on if they're actually just one guy or if there were really two of them. And they are the Primarchs of the Alpha Legion, which it's fitting that we don't know much about them because the Alpha Legion are like the secret covert op legion. And it's believed that one of them, if there were two, are dead, and that was Omegon, and that Alfarius is the only one still alive. But yes, um, and they were like covert ops guys for the Emperor. And actually, you can see on this list if there's a little skull above them, it's implied that they're dead. Now, because there's two, I think they mean only the one on the right is dead. And yeah, and that is they are confirmed dead because there's a lot that we think are dead that are also not on this list
Hmm.
because they're considered missing.
That's actually quite interesting because I noticed when you were talking about the elf like ETs and them basically creating like the demon that one particular demon was it Slornash? Yeah, it's interesting because that sounds more like some of the stories the Orions did in their history where they ended up creating these super monstrous type of entities with a mix with their own DNA and other creatures. So as like familiars, and they also would ride around on them and corrupt certain ones and use them as like riding beasts and stuff like that. And that's how it is in some of the Fomorian myths on Earth between the Tuatha De Danann and the Fomorians. But also the running joke is about giants. Is like, okay, say they had a harem in history, how did they make it fit, to breed, and that's a running joke that's been going on for quite some time. Okay, well, how did basically how the Nephilim breed once they were here, or how were they born from somebody smaller than them, kind of thing. So there is a running joke in that respect. But this reminds me of like the Anunnaki families, like where you have like the
This is similar to that, yes.
yeah, this reminds me of a lot of the Anunnaki families.
But you need to think of it this way also. The Emperor himself, it's highly implied that if the Great Crusade went to the way he wanted it to go, not all of these guys were going to survive it after. They were tools to him, though he called them his children and treated them like his children in the meantime. But it's implied that like Angron with those nails in his head was too far gone and would have to be killed.
mhm,
That Russ probably would have been all right at first, but would have gotten bored and tried to start shit, and it probably would have had been killed.
mhm,
Conrad Kurz would have had to been killed. Probably should have been killed as soon as the Emperor found him, but wasn't. And they were used like a terror force. Um, it was implied. We know what Magnus's kind of plan for the Emperor was afterward. We know what Root Gilliman's plan for the Emperor was afterward. We think we know what the Lion would have been fine. Fulgrim likely would have been fine. Perturabo, we have no idea what the Emperor thought about him after would have been for him after the fact. Jagatai would have been fine. He was always kind of out on the fringes by himself anyway.
mhm.
Lehman Russ, yeah, like I said, he would have gotten bored and probably gotten killed off or used as like the Emperor's secret police. Rogaldorn, the Emperor and Rogaldorn were like this. They were super close, good buddies. In fact, we'll talk about it here in a bit, but Rogaldorn is the one that's like defending Earth when all the shit hits the fan.
Mhm.
And so they would have been great. He probably would have been like the Emperor. He wouldn't have been the Emperor's Royal Guard. The Emperor has his own Royal Guard. They're called the Custodes. I'll show a picture of them. I just forgot to get it. Actually, yeah, I'll grab that now.
Interesting. Yeah, that's actually quite interesting. Uh,
Uh,
that was actually interesting. Yeah, being the
yeah,
Viking,
the
Viking.
Custodians wear like this very Eastern looking armor, and they have like guns attached to glaives. They're cool. They're the chosen faction of Henry Cavill, who's like the most famous person that like talks about Warhammer.
Yeah.
Um, but Yeah, they're the Emperor's Royal Guard, and there's a lot of them compared to like Space Marines and 40K, which we'll go into later in the Space Marine episode. But yeah. So the Custodians are his guard, but like it's implied that Rogel Dorn would have been sort of the Emperor's Earth defense guy, which Earth is called Terra, so we'll use Terra for this now. But Earth slash Terra, he would have been in charge of defending it, like
Got
the system. Sanguinius, honestly, the Emperor probably would have just let Sanguinius go home because on Sanguinius's home planet, Sanguinius was already worshipped as a god.
yeah. Okay.
Um, and the Emperor was okay with it as long as they didn't spread that religion to outside of their planet. And
Okay.
Sanguinius agreed, and that that was the agreement there, and it was upheld on both ends. Maybe in the future, the Emperor would have came and been like, "Hey, Sanguinius, that was a temporary agreement. Let's get rid of the religion here because it could lead to chaos." We don't know. Uh, and also, the Emperor did not tell any of these guys about chaos, except for the ones that could have run into it, mostly Magnus. He didn't want anyone knowing about it because it was dangerous if you even knew about it.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, Angron probably would have been killed. Rabute Gilliman probably would have been like day-to-day logistics of running the Imperium. Mortarion, we have no idea what the fuck he would have done. Magnus is implied to be sitting on the Golden Throne to keep like the jaws of the warp closed, um, which is basically torturing him to death, but the Emperor didn't care. Again, he viewed these guys as tools. Horus probably would have led the army. Lorgar probably would have had to been killed because he was too fanatic religious wise.
Yeah.
No idea about what Vulcan would have done, but the Emperor and Vulcan were close, and Vulcan was good. He stayed good throughout the whole thing. So, yeah, he would have been fine. Korax would have been fine. And it's debated what would have happened to Otharius and Omegon because when we talk about the Horus Heresy here in a minute, which is when a bunch of these guys betray the Emperor and humanity, um, it's implied one of them stays loyal and one of them doesn't.
That's actually
Or that the Alpha Legion itself was so compartmentalized, some of it stayed loyal, some of it didn't, or all of it stayed loyal, but it went to the bad side to be double agents. And it's really confusing. There's definitely stuff in the case that, like, yes, they stayed good. No, they didn't stay good. What my best intuition tells me is that part of it stayed good, part of it didn't, and they were so compartmentalized that they didn't know.
mm, okay.
And as a result, the entire Legion has now been branded as heretics.
Mm, okay.
And most likely, if there were two of them, the good one got killed,
Okay.
and the
Yeah.
bad one is still out there.
Yeah.
Um,
That evil twin thing. Yeah. Also, the character of Lehman Rusi kind of reminds me of a dark, like Thor figure because of like being like almost like the battle axe of the Emperor, pretty much, or the hammer of the
mhm.
Warhammer. So yeah. I find that interesting. Like I said, these are set up like some of the both. It's like a mix of both of the Scandinavian and Greek and a little bit of Egyptian in there.
Yeah, they're all based on, and all their planets have like a historical culture they're based on. Not all of them, but most of them. Like Rabute Gilliman's is clearly based on Rome.
Yeah.
It's called McCrag, and they literally have like it's set up Roman Republican style before the Emperor comes, and it already had its own like it had already reconquered a lot of its own like interstellar neighborhood.
Mhm.
Um, Magnus is clearly Egyptian themed. Prospero, the planet. Lehman Russ comes from Fenris. It's Viking, straight up. It's a frozen wasteland planet where everyone's like a Viking. Jagatai Khan, clearly like East Asian steppe peoples.
Kind of like on Tombun, Rus would be like Leon Rus would be more like one of the peoples out in the Pleiades that they're all Viking
Yeah.
warriors that are like
And
cop.
then Caliban for like the lion is very Arthurian.
Yeah,
Uh
that's also one of the Pleiadian worlds that's like an Arthurian-esque type of Elder Scrolls-ish type of theme too. Yeah.
yeah, not all of them have like a culture associated with them beforehand, but a lot of them do. Um Ferris Manus is a Greek. Um so now we get into the fact the Emperor has his sons. They're all back. The two we don't know much about. Their shit's already happened. We don't know what it was exactly. We have ideas, but I can't speak to it. Um, and Lorgar and a guy named Erebus are secretly working with Chaos. And Erebus stabs Horus and corrupts him, and he then starts the heresy. And through a contrived, like 40 novel series, Horus, Lorgar, likely Alfarius, Angron, Conrad Kurz, Fulgrim, and Perturabo break away, start worshipping demons, some of them undivided, some of them specifically for one of the demons, and they create a rebellion. And because Horus is War Master at the time, because the Emperor was trying to work on his own thing at the same time, he left Horus in charge of the conquest. Because the Emperor was trying. So the ancient elves that we already talked about that messed everything up with their debauchery, they had a fast and light travel thing called the Webway, and it was better because it didn't deal with the warp at all. And when their society got messed up by the birth of Slaanesh, the Webway was still there, but nobody was using it. So the Emperor was trying to figure out how to master it for humanity. And he's like, leave me alone. I'm going to deal with this. Don't fuck with me, and we'll be good. Well, around this time is when Horus gets corrupted. So Horus knows that the ones that stayed loyal, and Horus complains about this a couple times during the heresy, that if the ones he wanted to go bad were not the ones he got of these guys. So he wanted the Lion, Gilliman, and Russ to go bad, and they didn't.
Hmm.
He also wanted Sanguinius because he was very close to Sanguinius to go bad, and neither did he. So he knows that the Lion, Sanguinius, and Rebute and their legions would be a real problem, so he sends them off to the fringes. And as a result, now Dorn is on Terra still, and the bad guy, the ones that go bad, basically blockade Terra, and Dorn like locks himself in and digs in, and it becomes a siege. At the same time, Horus sends out the other traitors, and he tricks Leman Russ because Magnus learns about what Horus has done and has gone bad and tries to warn the Emperor. And the Emperor's like, leave me alone, and puts up a big psychic shield.
Hmm.
And so Magnus is like, I can't get to Dad. And he said, leave me alone, but I have to warn him. And so Zeech, the Lord of Plots, shows up and is like, you should just break it down. And Magnus, at first, is like, no, I'll be good. And shit starts getting worse. And so he does. And the Emperor, it basically destroys the Emperor's work and like opens a way for demons to get onto Earth. So the Emperor goes to Dorn and to Horus, he doesn't know is bad yet, and goes, get me Magnus. Well, he doesn't tell that to Russ, and Horus sends Russ to get him. But he tells Russ that the Emperor wants Magnus killed.
Hmm.
So Russ shows up thinking he's doing the Emperor's bidding and slaughters Magnus's home planet. Does not kill Magnus because at the last moment Magnus falls to chaos and joins Tzeentch to become like specifically a Tzeentch worshipping chaos Primarch. So now he's got the wizard one on his side. At the same time, Angron is going crazy, and he falls to the war one. Mortarion falls specifically to the plague one. Fulgrim falls particularly to Slaanesh for like pleasure and perfection. Perturabo falls undivided. Conrad Kurz falls undivided, but he's a messed up guy, so um Lorgar falls undivided, but and they all revolt. And the best three are out on the fringes and lose contact with the rest of the Imperium. And they can only assume that the Imperium has fallen, which it hasn't, but they can't communicate with anyone. They don't know, so they create Imperium Secundus with Sanguinius at its head. Gilliman is like their tactician and Lionel Johnson there. Then they end up getting into a fight, and Lionel Johnson is banished from Imperial Secundus. But then Lion figures out the Imperium is still there, goes back and tells the other two, and then they all try to make it to Terra through what's called the Ruin Storm, which is how they thought they were cut off anyway. Because some of the bad guys ones were like, we're going to create a psychic storm to keep them away, because that's what Horus wants. Meanwhile, Horus, Angron, and I believe Fulgrim, and Perturabo are sieging Terra. And Rogaldorn is holding the line with the Custodes. It's not looking good. And Ferrus Manus gets killed around this point. Omegon gets killed about this point. And around the time when the Lion figures out that the Imperium hasn't fallen, and they need to rush to Terra, they kill Kurz. Well, no, they capture Kurz, and then Kurz escapes. Kurz dies a bit later. So they rush back. They try to rush back, but they can only get Sanguinius through. Sanguinius gets through, and Horus is like, I need to force the conflict to end now. Because if they got through the Ruin Storm, the other two are coming. And I know our army, which is already kind of falling apart, because Fulgrim worships a specific chaos god. Perturabo has abandoned me here because I didn't listen to him, and I should have. And Angron's people are just rampaging around like crazy. I need to force this to end now. So he calls the Emperor to his flagship, and Sanguinius is there, and because Sanguinius has just showed up. And basically, the last door between the Emperor and Horus kills Sanguinius, but Sanguinius wounds Horus, who has like a super evil chaos power up at this point, so he's really powerful. And then the Emperor and Horus, who's now a bit weakened, has fought. The Emperor wins, but is like grievously wounded. Horus dies. It's implied that he's dead forever. And the Emperor gets interred on the Golden Throne.
You know what's really interesting about this is the one that's the Untumban basically, which would be got Tychon. Well,
Tychon, yeah.
Yeah. I came to find out in channelings by a being by the name of Tychon that he said in history he was Abe no Seimei, and then his children became the Omiyaji of Japan during the feudal period and cited different cabal or different factions and such. And then I find out it's very interesting that that runs a parallel, and also Horus Lupercal. The word Lupercalia is another word for Valentine's Day, and it was actually a satanic ritualistic day that's very similar towards the Samhain time of the year, but it's at the beginning of the year, and that it's actually more of a satanic ritual. And the heart symbol is supposed to be like you see people do this a lot. that was actually basically, that's why you see Hollywood do that. It was more of a satanic rite. I find it interesting that it also had to do with ancient Egyptian rituals as well, and the fact that they fused it into a single person, I find fascinating. But yeah, the two things that were actually confirmed in channel already was Tycon and that. So that we've actually learned a little bit about that already, and. The fact that that he showed up, but looking very similar to that as Abe no Seimei in the Japanese lore, where he created line magic to actually protect Kyoto from the demon parade. So essentially, it was called the Demon Parade. And it was essentially Draco reptilians and other little demonic little shits that came through at the time and invaded Kyoto and were scaring the crap out of everybody. And
So during the heresy, the Emperor creates one last group of Space Marines.
hmm,
And they don't have a Primarch because they claim their Primarch, like their genetic progenitor, to be the Emperor. And they're called the Grey Knights.
hmm,
And they are specifically dedicated to hunting demons.
hmm,
And they are super secretive and they use psychics and they wipe the memories of their people all the time. But they are the one other group of Space Marines. We will be talking about them more in the Space Marines episodes, but specifically be talking about them during the Space Wolves episode and in their own dedicated episode. But I thought it was important to talk about them because they have something to do with the Emperor creating stuff specifically to deal with demons. But so the Horus Heresy's done, and now the Emperor is interred on the Golden Throne. And some of the, you know how Lorgar started a little religion based on the Emperor?
hmm,
At some point after the Emperor died, and all the Primarchs had all the loyalist Primarchs, so like the Lion, Jagatai Khan, Leman Russ, Rogel Dorn, Sanguinius, Rabute Gilliman, Vulcan, and Korax have all kind of disappeared because they all go missing for some bit. Uh, about a couple thousand years, within a couple thousand years of the Emperor becoming the corpse on a chair thing.
hmm,
Uh, this religion that Lorgar started to worship the Emperor kind of ascends within the Imperium. And we know how now because a non traitor member of the Word Bearers, which is his legion, uh, founds it and helps set it up as a religion. Um, this religious group then kind of takes over everything
hmm,
and it becomes like a religious oligarchy that
hmm,
worships the Emperor. It doesn't help now that the Emperor is being worshipped, but also that he has to consume, I believe, 1,000 psychic souls a day to stay alive on the Golden Throne. But the reason why they're going through all this is one, they believe he's a god, and two, even though he's physically degenerating on the Golden Throne, his presence through the Golden Throne and in the warp can be used as like a lighthouse to tell you where you are in conjunction to Earth when you're traveling through the warp.
hmm, and that's why they keep him alive. That's essentially like an Orion that's stuck on a chair, eventually, essentially vampiring energies off of people to
Now,
stay
this is the
alive.
classic picture of the Emperor on the Golden Throne. This is like the one everyone sees when they first get into it. But recently, we have had the first evidence that this is probably not what the Emperor looks like and that he's moving,
Hmm.
which is not something people thought was happening. In fact, I told you how the Emperor created the Grey Knights. Well,
Yeah.
the Grey Knights have their own special protocol. If the Emperor tries to get up, their only job is to get him back in that chair.
Hmm.
And they will try to fight through the custodies within the Imperial Palace to do it. They will not win. There's not enough of them to win, but they are duty bound to try. But recently, and as in like since the beginning of this year, there was a cinematic trailer for Warhammer 11th edition of
Mhm.
40K where this is the image we get of the Emperor on the Golden Throne. And he's moving and his eye is like moving and his head moves a bit, and he's covered in skin still. So
Hmm.
either the Emperor is regenerating, which would be a very bad thing for everybody, or a very good thing. We don't really know because there is a belief that if the Emperor dies now, after all this stuff, instead of perpetually just kind of respawning somewhere, he's become so powerful psychically and through worship energy that he will be reborn as the fifth chaos god
Hmm.
and basically the god of humanity. And if he's moving like this and he doesn't die, he may come back just as the emperor, which would be good, even though he would basically purge like half the people in the Imperium just for worshiping him. Um, he is whatever it is showing that he's getting more and more strong, and we think it has something to do with the returning of the Primarchs because we there are so you see the ones that are said to be dead. Now, the ones that are said to be dead are, for all intents and purposes, as of this time, still dead in the lore. Gilliman was poisoned by Fulgrim and went into like 10,000 years of stasis, about 30,000.
Hmm. Okay.
Because the Horus Heresy ends in like 30,030 when Horus dies. About 30,100 is when Gilliman gets poisoned, and he was knocked out until like the 41st millennium. So for like 10,000 years. The Lion also came back a bit after Gilliman. He came back in a completely different way. He was not poisoned, but he was his home planet at the very end of everything that happened right during the heresy. He was on his home planet when it got destroyed. He was then taken by these things that his legion, the Dark Angels, work very closely with, called the Watchers in the Dark, and was put in like a stasis of his own. But then he woke up. He had aged visibly, so he's like looks like an old man now in comparison to like what he looks like there.
Hmm.
But he became coherent in a like an ethereal forest, and he's now back and active in the galaxy again as Primarch of the Dark Angels. And he's currently, and this is like the next big thing that's going to happen in the lore, like this next big super thing beyond like any little campaign book that comes out, which will go into like gameplay stuff for the tabletop game. The next big event in the lore is when Lionel Johnson and Rabute Gilliman meet face to face 10,000 years after because they have beef from during the heresy. They're both still good, but they have like unfinished business from back during that heresy stuff. And we'll get into that another time. But that their impending meeting is going to be a big one. Now, on the bad side, Fulgrim is back. He's like corrupted into like a snake creature guy. Angron's back. He's like a big red demon. Magnus is back, and he's a big blue demon.
Hmm.
Horus is dead. We know Korax is out there somewhere. He's not back though, like officially. He's just out there somewhere. Lehman Russ is missing in the warp. That is all we know about Lehman Russ. Rogaldorn is missing, and all they found of him was his hand.
Hmm.
But he's not implied to be dead. He's just missing. Vulcan kind of went a little crazy because he was captured by Kurz at one point and tortured to insanity.
Hmm.
But Vulcan is said to only going to be returning when the Salamanders, his like space marines,
Hmm.
find 8 of his relics, and they currently have all of them but one. So,
Hmm.
and currently the main thing with like who's the good guys who are coming back are it's between Vulcan, Dorn, and the Khan as the next one of the good guys to come back. The big or Russ. They're like the big ones people think will come back next. and it's basically most people think it's Dorn or Vulcan that are coming back next.
Hmm. Okay.
Mortarian's back. He's like a big beetle man. Um, but yeah, so the Emperor is now on the Golden Throne. He is still on the Golden Throne. He is still consuming souls every day to stay alive. However, he's no longer able to be used as a lighthouse for the entire galaxy to travel with because of events that we will talk about in a later episode, where the Great Rift basically tore the galaxy in two. And if you're on the other side, you can't see him.
Hmm.
But if you're on the side where Terra is, you can still see him. And also, it's implied the Emperor has done stuff in the last couple years in the lore. He brought Gilliman back to life when he almost died. He basically told the lion to get stronger before he tries to fuck with stuff. He brought a character from the Space Marine 2 game. He talked to him quickly. So he is doing stuff. We don't know how much he's doing. His moments are really rare and usually tied to big events, but he is doing stuff, and he's actively doing more and more than he ever has.
Hmm. But what now? If he were to like say die, wouldn't he just kind of regurgitate somewhere else?
It's
Uh,
implied that the warship energy and the um the fact that he had before he was put on the throne, he did a thing so that he could face Horus and have the strength that he would need. He took all of his good emotions and kind of cast them into the warp, and it's called the Star Child. And
hmm.
it's a lot of people who are like deep into the lore think that the Star Child's the one that's actually doing the miracles on behalf of the Emperor, and that the guy on the throne is basically just him and his bad emotions,
Hmm. Okay.
and that if he dies in his current state, he will be reborn as a chaos god because of the emotional stuff that has to do with the founding of the world. But because he's coming back, and he's clearly in a better state than we thought he was, nobody knows.
Hmm.
And we probably will never know because if the Emperor gets up, it's probably the end of the setting. But if he does get up and the setting keeps going, we have no idea.
Hmm. That's yeah, that's actually quite fascinating that yeah, he partitioned some of his emotions off. There was a character in Star Trek called Armus that was like that, where his all his negative emotions were just some black goo, and then there was apparently an ET that he had spawned from that was just this big, pretty, this race that was just pretty like pretty boy types. And then they cast off all this black goo crap. They essentially were applying the Orions a little bit. But with this, it sounds the same to me as well. Where the emperor, I have a funny feeling that yeah, they're just going to bring the emperor. Eventually, they're going to eventually regenerate him at some point, and they're going to throw some twist in there, like not have him be like normal. He's just going to be some real creature or something. But this reminds me of also him being Alexander the Great. This reminds me of that group you and I channeled that one time that were like they basically were a Macedonian group and
Mm-hmm.
said Alexander the Great was at one point one of theirs. This reminds me of that a lot, mixed with Anunnaki lore in there. If you mix the two of them together, and I know you said yeah he was also this like caveman god, like you said in the beginning. I thought this caveman type being or this Nephilim type. Uh, but I thought that was actually pretty interesting that they have his lore all the way back in that period. Then also he's Saint George as well. I had this funny feeling, Saint George actually came up in a channeling not too long ago, and they implied that he was like one of these immortals from history, the real one.
Mm-hmm.
It's sounding like it was also in preparation for this conversation as well. I find that very, very interesting. That it's he's Saint George, the knight, and then it had to do
I
with
mean,
Mark.
if we're in that universe, it's not a good universe for us to be in.
No, I have a funny feeling this was a some kind of how can I put it? When certain souls come in and they've come from a timeline, say that ends up like this. They come back to try to correct things or try to branch a one that we go further on, which is usually the case. This is the kind of stuff that's being remembered and then being regurgitated out or channeled out as this information. My intuition is telling me that this is one of those timelines that we stepped back from. Joanna also had one where she saw this form of AI had taken over. In this one time frame, she doesn't remember this part. I do, where she said her consciousness or her soul jumped back and in a stasis pod essentially and attempted to rewrite that history where it had gone horribly wrong, very much like the Warhammer timeline. So I'm a funny feeling this is okay. I'm getting a validation to that this essentially premonition is nothing more than remembering in reverse. So we're here to essentially, as more of a bootstrap paradox, essentially create the thing that essentially bring back the thing to create the thing, but make it better, if that makes sense. But a bootstrap paradox is like, say, if you go back in time to meet Beethoven, that's what they showed in Doctor Who, and you see there's no such person, but yet you can get the music, publish the music, and it actually shows that there was a person when there wasn't, kind of thing. That's what a bootstrap paradox is. And there are multiple groups like the Orions, for instance, or the Orion Greys, that were trying to do a whole bootstrap paradox to get their timeline regurgitated. So that's something that got spit out of Doctor Who and the programs. But yeah, this feels very, very legit to me. Uh, and the instant feeling that I'm getting from this is that this was some souls came back to actually prevent this, and the Emperor figure is essentially an Orion or an Anunnaki figure that got deteriorated very much like you see in the lore. And the fact that he's sitting on the throne and needing soul energy, that's exactly what we've said surrounding soul collectors or energy collectors. So energy collector units around churches and cathedrals, which were bastardized Atlantean and Tartarian technology. So, or structures, which I find very, very fascinating. Now, if that timeline stayed legit, that's pretty goddamn scary. But I don't believe that it would. I feel this is like an echo, or another branch, like the Fallout timeline. It ends up being like another world line or something. So even as another world line, it's pretty scary. But were you going to do gameplay or?
Yeah, we can do it if you want.
Okay,
You want
I'll do the
that
channel first.
before or
Then we
after
can
the
do that.
channel?
Yeah, we'll do it after the channel because it's not going to take that long to do that. Hang on. Mm. Hopefully my computer doesn't decide to take a shit during that, but okay. Now, all right. Who is going to actually speak? Kara? Yeah, Kara's been quite vocal lately. Valkyrie. Uh, and she's been the most vocal out of all of them recently. So they usually kind of rotate. I've noticed a lot of the guides and galactics rotate, and some of them talk longer than other ones. Uh, Sometimes, or they'll rotate, and then they'll have a few that kind of hang around more. I'm not sure why that is or the way it is, but benevolent Kara, you accept an audit from True Benevolent Source Creator, True Benevolent Earth Mother, and the True Benevolent versus as of this moment in time. Yes. Okay, good. Mirror across time and space were appropriate under the supervision of True Benevolent Source Creator, True Benevolent Earth Mother, and the True Benevolent versus it is for every single moments, all sessions, and expressions. All right. And it turns out that if you make a coin of one of them, this would be Kara's. These are actually very good channeling beacons or anchors for them to use, very much like a crystal would be. It's through the symbol on the back, and it brings them to their face. So I found out religious metals are the same way, where it's an anchor to whatever being it's being depicted. It's the same identical concept. Uh, these are more efficient uh, than that. Okay, and the tighter circle, deeper roots coin also can channeling energy. I found out. So I've been testing the limitations and the uses of these things recently, more so, and I found out this. So, uh, but what? Oh, apparently you have to have them in a particular hand too, like whatever hand you happen to be, like at left hand or right hand, whatever. That's the one. This one goes in the one of whomever the being is being depicted or beings, and the other one is this kind of like a shield, where it's like you're holding a shield sword kind of thing. Whatever the hand you happen to be. So usually in metaphysics, it was the right hand was the one that was taking on energy, and the left was more the deflection. So like a shield and sword. So okay, Kara, true benevolent Kara, and whatever is getting in the way, you can move your ass and get out of here. Kara, I will defer to you. Okay. Yes, he's actually correct in his assertion that this is a possible future, the way things would go, because your Martian Germans actually jumped to another timeline that was roughly 80 years from now. It would be 2109 that they went to, and currently run temporal scams from that particular timeline. There's also another one that you all have referred to as the quote unquote backstage. This is something very, very similar. Think of it as multiple lines, not just one, but in this instance, for the sake of argument, yes, this is a remembrance of the way certain demon pestilences, let's just say, are depicted. Knights or witchers, like that particular Grey Order type, or like the Grey Order in Star Wars, same kind of mix between Jedi and Sith, and also the Witchers, which would be a mix of super soldier and sorcerer, essentially with the mutagens that give them their abilities, so to speak. In this particular way, yes, there are some accuracies. So people that are remembering things are remembering in reverse, and are remembering things from what would appear to your science as future rather than past. But there are those arcing from good places and good temporal spaces, such as your 2194 and 8100 and various other places, that are making sure that a good future stays intact, and not one that is depicted in Warhammer 40,000. So there is a temporal war going on between that of what would be like an emperor. And to answer any questions regarding the emperor, was Alexander the Great like this? And was this why he was booted from that Macedonian realm? Absolutely. This is depicted accurately, uh, as well as Saint George. Were they the same person in history? The truth would actually surprise you, or not. Yes, but think of it this way. Excuse me, move. But think of it this way. You have somebody like Alexander the Great that just goes and according to history, dies. And then the emperor figure goes and makes his palace up in the mountains, up in the Himalayas. It would be almost like a Shangri-La or some such place. Now, did the real Alexander the Great go underground or in the mountains? You could say that. He didn't actually die. Oh, so this is actually being depicted correctly. Now, was he a Nephilim like the character of the Emperor? Not necessarily. But he was of that same group that that was previously known to you. We work quite closely with that particular group. The reason I chose myself to speak in this way is because the Valkyrie also are dimensional warriors that we go around. Let's just say, you have an apartment building that has a maintenance area behind all the apartments where all the pipes and electrical is. That's where we tend to go, and we tend to find lost people that have time slipped into there. But do the Valkyrie also live out in the Pleiades along with the Engun people, New Asgardians, Valhallians, and several others? Yes, and ones that are depicted looking like how you have different groups in your Elder Scrolls games. Yes, and this one, of course, too. So so the depictions of all the Primarchs are how some of the cultures actually look. Very much like how they appear. Not to some of the more extremely scary ones. That's more Orion based. But some of the more humanish looking ones, very much like your Rus or your Lion, yes, that is actually very, very accurate. Or your King Emmerich in your Elder Scrolls. This is exactly how you get along with like the whole temporal war type of lore like you have in your Star Trek, where there's different temporal war factions trying to rewrite time in multiple places. So I can go into questions.
I think that questions probably aren't the best thing in this case because there is a large portion of the fan base of this series that would want that future brought about.
Yes, it is because just like the different demons on the other side of the warp, who do you think they are depicting? The non-corporeal archontic forms of that particular dimensional ribbon. You can say it is a warp to spirit, or a warp to the astral plane-ish, even though there is a physical realm, astral plane, and there's a spirit component, which is the archontic dimension. They like to consume ghosts and crap like that. So who do you think is wanting that future along with the Orions and the Orion Greys? They're wanting to regurgitate a timeline that they are familiar with in the darkness that they are anchored to, which is the same as the Arconian binary network, the mouth, and various other things that you are unfamiliar with, both of an AI sort and of a demonic part flesh, part non-corporeal, very much like almost like the four horsemen of the apocalypse type concepts that you were talking about. This is why that is actually taking place.
Yeah, I just think giving it attention is not the best option at this moment.
Yes, that is an egregore that should be dissolved. Yes, you are correct. So, if you have no questions for me, I can detach. This is what I wish to bring forward. Just know that future is not going to happen. It will not be allowed by the others in the positive end of the temporal spectrum. This has already been reviewed. That egregore, let's just say, has been found wanting, and the whole point of this conversation at the moment is to get people to dissolve this, not by always giving it attention, and therefore you're creating the very thing you're trying to guard against. No, 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 no. What I mean is make sure that you jump to the appropriate timeline by which that is no longer a certainty in that way. The ribbon is there. It does not mean it needs to be here. So, or anywhere else for that matter. They might have their use as far as the universe goes. It is more of an infected vein that needs to be cut out or a clot of some kind, but that will tend to itself the less people give it power. So yes, you are correct, Ryan, in your observation. So I will detach. I thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, it's this ribbon type dimension that a lot of these sorcerer types like a lot of these sorcerer types like to draw energy from. It's just basically like any sort of magic or power has its basis in it in a particular dimension, like the layers of oblivion type of thing. Like soul gems for the towards the soul cairn ideal master, same thing. It's all that. That's where that those ideas are coming from. And these different layers were these different like Lords of Oblivion, or like a Primarch would be. Like what we said in our original Oblivion conversation. So that, and I've recently got back into that because I wanted to actually fiddle around there. So this is actually very appropriate that this get talked about here as well. So I don't know, Ryan, if you want to do any game footage or not.
Yeah, we will. I'm just messing around with something in the mean before we do that
Okay.
for a minute, just because I want to uh, get that squared away before I start anything.
Okay. I'll edit this here, but I do have to use the bathroom. So, I'll be right back. Oh, and also I'll add the ending to Disclosure Day where you have the alien and the frail alien in the wheelchair kind of thing behind a hermetically sealed curtain kind of deal, or the Anunnaki that was in 10,000 BC that was again behind sheets being very frail and everything. It's essentially the same thing. Like in 10,000 BC, there were three of them, two died. They're originally from Atlantis, kind of thing, but in in Disclosure Day, you have the alien that is this essentially like an Orion in a wheelchair. Essentially, it's all frail and low on energy kind of deal. It's a lot of great propaganda towards the end of that, but it's essentially the same theme going on. When Joanne and I went and saw that, that was a bit of a brain scrambler, but was a lot of information we already knew. But it touches base with some of the same timeline too, a little bit with that. That's the propaganda. They want people to bring in that frail like form, feel sorry for it, and you end up forging that the Orion's original timeline or something close like Warhammer 40,000. Not cool. So that is essentially why there's a lot of that propaganda out there. They want people to feed it, therefore create it. And I also found out with the Hajj, in Mecca. I found out that when Enlil, when he took the Shiva form, created that, they were actually imprisoning something there like Pandora's box, and the whole point was the people that circled it were trying to guard it and keep something in there, but it became a religious base or a religion after a while, and people thought they were had to circle that to appease God, which would have been Enlil or Yahweh. So what happened was they created an egregore, essentially. Oh, they feel they have to do it based upon the fact that something might be there. There's nothing there at the moment, but it's essentially creates an egregore. That was just a example I want to use. Uh, okay, I can see it. Hmm?
Like I'm moving around.
No, it's not moving at all. It's just a still image on my end.
Hang on.
Interesting. So I can hear it now. Well, now the sound's in and out. It's a little choppy. It's actually very choppy.
Hang on.
Uh, there we go.
There we go. How's that?
Try moving around and see what happens. Now it froze.
being very odd today, the screen share thing.
Yeah, on my end, it was being an ass earlier.
No, because like it's doing it when I'm tabbed out of the game, but when I'm tabbed into the game, it doesn't want to do it.
Interesting. Yeah, the character's moving. I can see the character moving and everything, but oh.
Let me try something.
Okay. Yeah, it's being a pain in the ass.
Where's the... Can you see now?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, now what is going on here? Oh, look, I see. I put them there. I drag that over, and I go... How about now?
Oh, yeah, it's working.
Alright, I figured out what the problem was, and it was something stupid.
Okay, what had happened?
It wanted me to share the entire screen, not just the game.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, now it's working.
Gate ahead. Looks deserted.
Reporting in. Team has arrived at the Imperial Guard encampment.
Talassa, you need to acquire the Astra Militarum demolition codes required to deploy and arm their ordnance. Source one from any soldier you see, alive or otherwise. I am having no luck. A quick sweep turned up nothing.
That's a reptilian there. Yeah.
They're actually bugs.
Bugs? Okay, insectoid then. Yeah, okay.
They just have reptilian features. They're called Tyranids.
Oh, the Tyranids, yeah.
Codes obtained.
Captain, the demolition codes are secured.
Proceed to the Prometheum refinery and complete the demolition preparations.
My wound is mended. Stay close and sharp. Let us march up in. This is where we sow the enemy's defeat, brothers.
I was just told that Helldivers' timeline was very similar as well.
Helldivers takes a lot of inspiration from this.
Yeah.
In fact, they're having a Warhammer 40k cross event very soon in Hell.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, with Helldivers. Oh, that's interesting. But that was a possible timeline as well. Not quite as severe as not quite as severe as Warhammer, though.
Shoot the swarm mine! Alasa, the Cadians are running out of time. How close are you to the Prometheum facility? Arriving at the objective now. You are making good time. We are going to need it. Replenish and ready. Stay dead! Into the fray! Reloading!
You're a little world, huh?
What?
Game.
Surprise. Let us finish what the Cadians started.
Use the codes to prime the bomb and finish its deployment into the crude Prometheum well. Cautiously. If you know what is good for you. All according to the Emperor's plan. Rites of activation have been observed. The generators humbling the machine god's name. Iron sequencing initialized. Delivering payload.
Overwatch needed on Generator 1.
Biological incursion of the Generator 1. Do not foul the machine god's blessed mechanisms with organic parts.
I was just told Halo is added into the mix too, but at the same time, that was more SSP related. Yeah. It's still time travel project though. Project.
X-axis aligned. By the Omnissiah's will. The bias machine. But slow.
And also the Alexander the Great, I found out that I was just told that was banished from that dimension for being slightly more brutal and not more peaceful. So and corrupted Orion, corrupted by the Alliance.
My axis
We good? One thing I will say about the Emperor in his favor is he always put humanity first and non-biologically augmented humanity.
What was that?
He put non-biologically humanity, like biologically augmented humanity, above everything else.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, that is interesting.
Even though he made these like biological super soldiers and stuff for his crusades and stuff,
Yeah.
he fully intended humanity to be ruled by like fake humans after he was done with his work.
Oh, regular humans. So yeah, so one could view, depending on which side, one can view him as a villain and one can view him as a hero. Yeah. So yeah.
There is an observation platform overlooking.
But they're saying the real guy had some corrupted, not getting more corrupted moments. Some had good moments.
Probably, I'm just saying, like, I'll give Emperor credit in some places he was already.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it was just his children that didn't want that to happen. Yeah.
Well, it was his children that fell to worshipping demons, essentially. It wasn't even that not... Some of them, yeah, didn't want his plans to come to fruition, but other ones, like, literally were just corrupted by demons.
Yeah. It's like what I found out with Abe no Seimei on the Omniaji. The Omniaji got corrupted by Archontic demon consciousness. So it's essentially the same difference. And caused Japan to get split into the feudal state it was in. And remnants of the old Orion Wars and their rivals, the Untummans. Because the Untummans were one of the greatest enemies. Then the Akim, the monkey people, the Anakim, and others. And Irma and all them.
And in this setting, nobody's good.
Nah.
Like, everyone does messed up, terrible things in this setting. It doesn't matter if you're considered a good faction or a bad faction. They all do.
Yeah, they're all kind of just fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're more of an anti-hero or doing even bad things for good reasons kind of thing. Yeah.
We have arrived at Nozick's facility. Run distraction efforts as long as you can. We will wreak such havoc upon the enemy, the Emperor will see it from Terra. I will hold you to that. My father!
Are we sure this place will hold together once that bomb goes?
There will be more burn than bomb this way.
Getting broiled is not an improvement.
Very similar to Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda too, where you had the Nietzscheans that were like Nazi super soldiers. They were one clan, and most of the human race had been augmented, but then there were a lot that were regular humans, dude.
Wonder how many I took down before they got me.
It's my belief we're here to in this time frame to prevent timelines such as this, and hold all the good ones that are out there. And we're holding the space for that reality.
the All Father!
Fight of my life up there.
Get turned around!
Listen.
Main swarm sighted. We await your signal, Captain.
Dig in. We need that bomb triggered for optimal yield. Orbital scan estimates the bulk of the swarm will not be in position for a while yet. Keep your heads and get it done.
I see them coming, brothers. Plenty for everyone.
Get that Prometheum a place! Initiating burn! The bulk of the swarm is continuing along the predicted path. Continue holding.
The refinery needs covering.
Swapping out magazine! Crack grenade out! Never turn.
I also can't realize some of the different Primarchs are like some of the deities. Like you said, one became a giant bug, one was more of a lizard or a snake. You know, it's like a lot of the different deities that are out there. One was more like Lucifer the snake or something like that, or the other one was like the beetle in Egyptian mythology.
They turned into different.
Yeah.
Basically, they became demons themselves over time, and like Angron's the worst one. He became like a proper just demon.
Yeah.
Whereas like he can be killed and stuff, and instead of dying, he goes back and like regenerates into warp, just like a demon would.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was essentially Kepri, they said, is the beetle god. And that's, and part to represent the morning sun. Korra agreed that forms a crucial part of the solar theology and personified on, while Ra and the autumn govern midday sunset. Okay, so there were more concepts, but yeah. And eventually, I was told if a being becomes a concept, it's more of an abomination. You come from a concept to a being like ourselves. So it's de-evolution if you start to fuse with a concept, kind of deal. So, and that would be more demonic territory. So that makes sense.
The swarm is almost fully committed. Be ready for my mark.
Inside the birds.
Swapping out magazine! You are clear to detonate. Cook those rotten bastards.
Yes, Captain. You heard him.
The ground is seeded. Now reap the flame. Let these flames be a witness initiated. Tyranid biosites down 90% and fallen. Swarm annihilation confirmed. Excellent work. Move to extract. Extraction complete. Returning to orbit. Commendable work, brothers. You honor your chapter. Be ready for rearm, refit, and redeployment immediately.
And these guys are like were originally designed by the Emperor.
Hmm. Okay. The non-crazy variety?
Hmm?
The non-crazy variety are the ones that he had to didn't have to destroy?
They these are Space Marines in general.
Okay.
You're meant to be playing loyalist ones, but you can dress up as bad ones if you want.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Oh, that's
I was dressed as a space wolf, like space Viking guy for that
Okay.
match.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, the armor I've noticed is very similar, a mix between some of the actual Space Viking on Tumba and some there's a bit of Martian German influence and a bit of Mozen influence look in there as well. Not that I want to give them any credit recently, but yeah, very similar. Like Brotherhood of Steel-ish kind of remnants in there. Yeah.
A bit, but this predates that by a while.
Oh yeah, it predates it by a while. I'm just saying it has a bit of kind of that flavor to it a little bit.
Warhammer came out in the 80s, at least 40K did.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, one I guess then this inspired that Fallout. Yeah. So I guess Fallout is like more like this in that way. Who are the incense burning guys there, or whatever they were doing?
Those are members of the Adeptus Mechanicus.
Oh.
They are the machine cult of Mars.
Oh. Interesting. Martian cult. Yeah. And the fact that it's a machine cult, it's like an AI cult. Yeah, interesting.
Well, they just worship technology, basically.
Oh, technology in general. Okay. Yeah.
AI is banned in this universe.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, it's so far in the future. Before, like, Birth of Slaanesh and stuff, we already had our war with AI.
Oh, okay. That's like Dune then, where they had a war with AI and almost wipes out humanity, and they end up banning thinking machines. So it's the same thing. Yeah. Again, I heard possible rotten future timeline. That's actually the reason. Again, we're here is to not have that kind of thing happen.
There you go. There's something nice.
Like a cherub or like some kind
Yeah,
of...
but they actually use like stillborn babies to make them.
Okay.
And I'll show you over here. This is what happens if you are essentially a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
They just lobotomize you and put you as like a worker drone.
Oh, okay. Also, the height difference between the soldiers here and the other regular humans, that's essentially like some of the like some of the Anunnaki figures down there, the human worshippers too. They're the height difference is pretty much correct. Yeah,
Yeah, that's because of these guys' augmentations.
yeah. And Halo was the same way, where the augmentations made him just as tall for like Master Chief. Yeah. Interesting.
These guys' augmentations make Master Chiefs look easy.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me too. Interesting.
The next episode we'll do about these guys.
Okay. Yeah, it just dawned on me. Warhammer, it was basically written essentially around the same time The Witcher was. Then,
Probably.
yeah, in the '80s. So yeah,
It's British though,
yeah,
whereas The Witcher is
Russian, I believe. Yeah,
Polish.
oh, Polish. Okay. Yes, smart asses out there. I know there's a difference between them. Shut up. Okay, let's see. I thought that was interesting. Well, it's really weird, when you were talking about Henry Cavill actually really into this, which I knew. I saw like almost like a version of him in my head, like almost like there was a part of him that was like observing this, like another timeline.
He's trying to make the TV show.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
Have you received new orders from Akaran?
We are en route to the designated point.
You will need to
Yeah, I feel like he's really interconnected into the energy of this too.
You warned.
Like there's a version of him in this. So yeah.
Imperium does not suffer. Go well, brothers. We can take that bridge towards the console. Let us find a lift.
Hostile traitors! Smite them down!
Brothers, I have found our way up.
Let's steal rain!
Oh!
The hell?
Hellbrute.
I popped out like a evil Jack in the Box.
Do not tarry, brothers. Only work awaits.
It's stuck, I think, though.
Oh,
Investigation!
well, not anymore.
Ready to reveal our foes. The Imperium has spoken. In his name. Dead. With death, war, and blood. In vengeance, serve the Emperor. In the name of the Dawn. Reloaded. The traitor tasted the Imperial's justice.
They did a little bit of Doom in there and a little bit of Evil Dead, but with the chainsaw bit.
Yeah, the chain swords are a fairly common Astartes thing.
Never hesitate in fulfilling his will. We should not assume.
Yeah, Evil Dead had Ash with the chainsaw, and then Dune had, that was the specialty with that too, or Doom rather, excuse me.
We don't have as much bridge as we assumed, brothers.
The guns in this game shoot Coke can-sized bullets that are rocket-propelled and explode on impact.
Damn, okay.
And that's like the basic gun that I have.
I believe SSP factions have similar type of things like that, I feel. Like we had some of that there too.
Skin shot injected.
Even though this might be a little excessive, still, I feel it's similar.
Reloading magazine. You traitorous scum do not deserve death. Swapping magazine. Auspex primed.
Our enemies may not let the dead be, but we will. They have earned their glory. This darkness is unnatural, brothers. We must brace ourselves against its corruption.
If that relic repels the darkness, it repels its ill effects. We bring it with us.
Be warned, brothers. The weight of this relic will slow me in and out of combat.
Yeah, it's interesting where you have a relic that would be a demon repeller. Yeah, it would be an energy frequency that would repel the archontic ribbon that we were talking about. Yeah, interesting. And it's a sphere
The
too.
enemy seeks to disrupt the battlefield.
Is this the glory Magnus promised you?
We're in this darkness.
This darkness will overwhelm us unless we stay close to the light.
Purity is all around us. I will resist.
Servitors and servos
I
guard.
will not fall.
Enemy fired.
Brothers, I am again ready for battle. We need a silver skull to come if you want to open the door.
Replacing holy ordnance.
We must find the access code. A working servo code in that.
always has been. As malignance wishes to debase me. This until we find the code, we will remain. Faith is eternal. Under their enemies. Stay present. I am near. Service.
We are still in need of a servo scope.
Whispers of traitors. My faith will endure. Through suffering, my faith in my duty grows stronger. This light is the only thing that pierces the dark. Stay close, brothers.
Brothers, I have found a servo scope.
Omnissiah be with you, ministers. How may I serve?
We need this door opened.
Acknowledged. I will communicate the proper hymn. Hymn transmission in progress. Awaiting acceptance.
Accepted. Ministers have been granted door access.
I know not how, but the relic's glow restores me. The corruption has abated. Scanning. Arrogance and ambition. Into the breach once more. We see clearly again, brothers. The darkness can harm us no more.
While our brothers fight back against the traitors, we must hurry to the device.
Is as grotesque dead as it was alive.
The Emperor's might will crush you and your foul beliefs. Those altars channel the energy manipulating the land.
The land's turn. This is how we reach the traitor. It is our strength of will that disrupts the altar. We must stay by it until we have our path. The lands have formed a path.
Head to the next altar.
The land attempts to restore itself. The strength of our will disrupts the traitor's plan.
We keep close to this altar. When the land lines up, we advance.
Set this atrocity. We have an opening to the next altar. The heretic lies defeated.
Try again. Maintain position by this altar until the next is near.
The lands are in position.
We have restored the land. Let us eliminate the vile emissary and stop the device. The sorcerer
and the device are
unreachable. Stop us. He is wrong. The sorcerer is siphoning energy from these vulgar eyes.
He is using them to power his defenses. Let us destroy them, brothers!
Essentially, those obelisks are his power source, just like in the past. It was essentially a 0-point energy power source on pyramid power grid. Sometimes it was hydrogen. Power.
Close the eyes for a sight. We must stay alert for when they appear. He revives the traitors.
And it could generate a shield like that. The power.
The true horror of heresy.
The eyes are visible.
Let us purge this deceiver from our sights.
Only that sorcerer stands between us and our objective. We end him.
Here is where your lies and your life
Lieutenant Titus needs us to invert the obelisk replica. We will not disappoint him. Talassa, report. We have realigned our replica, Brother Titus.
And I think that'll do it for gameplay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's actually quite fascinating. Yeah, like I was saying before, I felt like, yeah, Henry Cavill's energy is very interwoven into that and SSP history, but I'm thinking this is why he's so hooked to this, because there's like a version of him somewhere in that, or was. And we're all here to fix that. But yeah, or element of oversoul. But yeah, that's why he's drawn past life, oversoul, parallel timeline, essentially the same. So yeah, that's kind of what I was picking up on. I thought that was interesting. But yeah, I thought that was actually quite interesting. I'll have to try that game series out. Ryan, I don't know if you have anything else to add before we take this show out.
I don't.
Okay. Hope you enjoyed that, everybody. There's going to be other installments in this about the Space Marines and things of this nature. I heard Kara basically saying, "When are they going to get to the female Marines?" I heard
There
that.
aren't
Today.
any.
Right.
There's some female custodies, but there's no female Marines because they're the augmentations, they can't survive them.
Yeah, so it had to be men. So that actually does make sense. So it's a lot of the programs were that way, even though there were some in the SSP, but yeah, the men
Biological
mainly
base
survived.
for them are male. They can't survive the implantation of the new organs.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that actually makes sense. So differences there in the physiology that wouldn't allow for it. Yeah. So at this point in time, I now close this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Oh, when Henry Cavill was working on the Warhammer 40,000, they tried to change it to be more woke, and they were going to make female space marines, but that's not in the canon. Whether people like it or not, it was not in the canon. You cannot just change the canon of things. This was the joke that Kara was making at the end. What about the female space marines? Because it was they were trying to change the source material, and Henry Cavill said, "No, I will walk, and you will lose money if you stop trying to change the source material." They did that with The Witcher. They changed the source material. Stop doing that. Go with the source material. There's plenty of action in the source material. I know you Hollywood types like to go, well, we want to put something that people weren't expecting in there, like the Jaws ending, and Peter Benchley was furious with Steven Spielberg over the Jaws ending. Stop trying to revolutionize something and just go with the fucking source material, for the love of friggin' benevolent source creator. Rant done. All right. It is 10:43 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday, August 2nd, 2026. Thank you.